When you're fighting a war, the first thing you want to know is who your enemy is, what their capabilities are, what you have to fear, what you'll be able to easily exploit and attack. And it's hard not to laugh when you actually look at our enemy for exactly who they are and what they've surrounded us with. The only weapon they have is fear and terrorism on us because they're that weak. And I'm going to tell you why. Several years ago, I started following a channel I think at the time was just called Mr. E. Mr. E. Some guy I think in Canada. I don't really know who he is. But he's had many channels in the last 4 or 5 years. They keep getting taken down. He was getting taken down by YouTube before anybody was getting taken down by YouTube. And the reason is because he was exposing the elites, like they like to call themselves, for exactly who they are. And I don't think they liked that too much because they don't want us to know their true weaknesses and vulnerabilities. But this is one of the things I've wanted to talk about on this channel since I started it and have been, I guess, not all that keen on bringing up because the time just didn't seem right, or I just wasn't ready to put it out there until today. And I have to thank my good friend, the Pennsylvania Health Secretary, Rachel Levine, for so nicely reminding me of who our enemy is. If you haven't seen this Rachel Levine, Google her. Rachel Levine, Pennsylvania Secretary of Health. She's the one that just imposed these ridiculous restrictions for Pennsylvania where you're not supposed to drink, or you can't buy alcohol after 5 o'clock the day before Thanksgiving. And now I just saw something else nonsense they put out, limit alcohol consumption on Thanksgiving, and just ridiculousness. But look at Rachel Levine. And if anybody with a straight face can tell me that that individual was born a woman, I'm not sure what to tell you. But it's not openly transgender at all, to my knowledge. But he is the absolute tip of the iceberg of who our enemy actually is. I'm sure you know, and if you don't, I'll talk about it. Our enemy ultimately is spiritual. Lucifer, the fallen one, who rebelled against the Creator and was sent to this earth, and for a season is terrorizing humanity and trying to destroy us. The only thing that the enemy knows how to do is to invert everything. What's down is up, what's up is down, what's right is left, what's left is right, what's male is female, what's female is male. Everything's inverted. And they've been doing this since time immemorial. Everybody you see, nearly everybody you see, in politics, in the media, in movies and television and sports and entertainment of all kinds, are part of the beast system. They only get there by being a part of the system, and to do that, they must be inverted. And this goes all the way to the top, to the absolute cowards that are calling the shots on this, that we don't know their exact names, but they exist. They hide in the shadows like cowards. But they're inverted. Everything is reversed. And not only do they reverse genders or sexes all the time, They're plainly weak and disgusting. The only thing that they have going for them against us, is years and years of knowledge that they have not given us. And without that knowledge, they would be crushed because nobody wants them. They're disgusting, pitiful people. Barely human. I want to challenge you to prove me wrong on this. How these people in power that are installed in positions of power are inverted. Look at Gretchen Whitmore. It doesn't just go male to female, it also goes female to male, and those are a little harder to spot. But once you see it, Tom Brady, you can't unsee it. They're everywhere. And years ago, I studied all of the first ladies of the United States of America, ever since Martha Washington. Going back on the old paintings that are available of her, all the way up through Mel Trump, who, if that isn't some powerful male energy, I don't know what is. Demonic male energy. But I've looked at every single first lady through history. Look up pictures of them. Spend some time on Google if you want to prove this to yourself. And I always wondered when I was younger, like, why are politicians all so weird looking? Why is that? It doesn't make sense. I remember, like, Bush. What was the first Bush's wife? Barbara Bush. Oh, that's no woman. You trying to mess with me? Give me a break. You go back to Kennedy's wife, whoever everybody said was so feminine. And so, look at that individual for who it actually was. Not through what the media told you that it was. And it becomes obvious. Some are way more obvious than others. Some, like Lou Henry. Look up First Lady Lou Henry. And tell me that's not a man. And it goes way beyond politics. It goes into writers. It goes into philosophers. It goes into all of these individuals that have shaped history and shaped our reality. They're all disgusting island of misfit toy type humans. They're weird. I remember even watching movies and TV when I was younger, in my teenage years and 20s and whatnot. And everybody always used to talk about celebrity crushes. Who's your celebrity crush? And I could never really find one, because I would always kind of go, well, maybe Jennifer Aniston. I'll go with Jennifer Aniston. But I could never find one, because I always remember watching movies and watching TV, and even if I would see an actress who I thought was reasonably attractive, I would look at things like their hands, and their hands were always so big and beefy and just like they're ready to crack open a lobster, like man hands, the old Seinfeld episode. And they're all that way, and huge feet and just really strange characteristics. And then as they get older, the deception starts to become more and more obvious. They can't hide the gender bending as well as these actresses and actors get older and older and older, and singers. And then you start looking at them and it's like, well, what happened to Julia Roberts? Man, she really got ugly. Well, a lot of plastic surgery, they always say. It's more like that plastic surgery can't keep up with making them look like what people expect them to look like. And so this enemy is so disgusting and pitiful. They don't tell the truth about anything, even their own sex. Seriously, spend some time looking at this. Because to defeat the enemy, you have to know the enemy. And it seems to me a really important thing to them is their gender bending and lying about it. And then notice in the last 4, 5, 6 years how they've pushed this trans agenda on the entire world as though to normalize it And now they come out more openly with CoverGirl on the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated, who's openly transgender, or and different models and things like that. But they look exactly the same as the ones we've seen our entire lives. Those are all transgender too. Think about how many models you've looked at, maybe even lusted for, and they're actually men. They were actually born men. And it's deceived you. And don't even get me started on porn. If you're watching porn, you're watching more twisted things than you even know. There's a lot of gender bending going on in that world. So our enemy is insecure. Our enemy hides. Our enemy hates to be exposed. But yet they have to put it in front of us at the same time. We sit back scared. We think we need to be scared. That they control the world and there's nothing we can do. They only control the world because they control the information. And they learned that a long time ago. And that's why the internet was such a beautiful invention for them to control all of the information through just a few different tools. So if they don't control information, they wither up and die because they're pitiful and they have no real human survival skills. They have nothing to offer the world at all. All these politicians, which are very low level on the side of the enemy, but they are on the side of the enemy and have to conform to the enemy's demands in every way. But all these politicians that were installed while we weren't looking, Lori Lightfoot, these absolute freak shows. There's one in Atlanta. I think the mayor's name there is Lance Bottoms or something like that, and it's a woman. What a horrible name. And they do it with names too. Christiane Amanpour on CNN. There's another perfect. I can go on News People all day long, but they do it with they do the gender. They get you into their team, right? Then you have to conform with all their rules of gender bending and all that, and then they give you a name. And every time I ever see Christian Amanpour, I think a poor man and vulnerable, and probably at some point in this individual's life was roped into working for the enemy and has to conform and had to go through a sex change and do all the things they demanded and got stuck with the name Amanpour. It makes sense, right? I mean, you see it all over the place with names where they're screaming at you in the name what they did, or that it's not really a man. Julia Roberts. Robert. They always work male names into it all the time. And they hate us knowing that. That's why I'm talking about it, because they hate it. I know they hate it. They're embarrassed by it. They're such freaks. They're freaks. We can't even fathom the disgusting thoughts that they have and the things that they do. I'm not going to talk about those things because I'm sure you've gotten a lot of that information from other channels. It's not that I'm not aware of it. It's that I don't want to give it any more power. What I want to do is take away these people's power, whatever little power they have, through controlling our information. Our enemy is easy to defeat. There's nothing about these freaks to fear. The only thing that they have to scare us with is a fairy tale that they've been spinning called COVID-19. The entire thing is a fairy tale. Of course, they've played out specific agendas to make things look as real as possible and done it in a lot of different directions. I've covered all of that on my channel extensively, ad nauseum. I'm kind of tired of talking about all that stuff because that's all just the fairy tale that they're playing out. That's the plan that they're trying to engage with the ultimate goal of totalitarian world control. And saying that a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago would have sounded crazy. Saying that in November of 2020 is logic. It's enemy is going to be crushed and exposed. All of it. Not just the left, not just the right, or whatever it is. Left and right is a distraction. The enemy is way higher than the left and the right. It stems from the principalities and powers of the air run by the fallen one, who only knows to lie and has lied about everything that you've been taught, including the gender of literally nearly everybody that you look at in the media, on television. Take the scales off. Ask God Almighty to remove the scales from your eyes so you can see it for yourself, because I promise you, once you see it, you're not going to be able to unsee it. It's really disturbing at first. And then it's just another day in paradise. Every morning almost when I wake up, and we get up at about, we set the alarm for about 6 a.m. My girlfriend has to log in by like 7:45, so we like to take a little extra time in the morning just to talk or watch TV or watch a YouTube video or argue sometimes. Excuse me. But every morning, once it's time to get going, she walks out of the room just singing, "Another day for you and me in paradise." It's an old song. I think it's from the 80s. But anyway, let's defeat these disgusting creatures that don't even deserve even our attention whatsoever. Remember that their only weapon is information. Keep that information from spreading as much as you can. Keep it from spreading, because it's fairy tales, it's lies, it's plants, it's planting ideas into consciousness that they're trying to carry out but haven't successfully done so yet and are just hoping to carry out. So planting them out there just causes more damage to our interests. We are going to defeat this enemy. They're weaker, more vulnerable, and more absolutely pitiful than most of us realize. God bless you. Peace.